On 5th October 2012, Indian state carrier Air India became the first carrier to take possession of a Dreamliner that was manufactured in the Charleston, South Carolina Boeing plant. This was the first 787 that was manufactured outside of Washington. In 2019, reports began to emerge about quality control issues at the North Charleston plant, leading to questions about the jet's safety. And later that same year, KLM, which had discovered loose seats, missing and incorrectly installed pins, nuts and bolts not fully tightened, and a fuel line clamp left unsecured on its jet, complained that the standard of manufacture was way below acceptable standards. On 12th June 2025 in Ahmedabad, India, a tragic incident occurred involving an Air India 787 Dreamliner. The aircraft climbed to an altitude of 625 feet before descending and ultimately exploding, resulting in the loss of many lives. What led to this catastrophe? What hidden factors contributed to this incident? To understand, it's essential to first explore some critical components of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The 787 Dreamliner features fuel tanks located in the left, right, and central sections of the aircraft. These tanks are safeguarded by a nitrogen-enriched environment designed to minimize the risk of explosions. A crucial element in the aircraft's operation is its fuel pumps, which deliver fuel to the engines at extremely high pressure. This high-pressure fuel supply powers the engines. If the pumps fail, the engines operate on a system called suction feed, which uses a limited amount of fuel. However, this limited fuel supply cannot generate sufficient power for extended engine operation, which can cause the aircraft to struggle during prolonged climbs. In addition, the aircraft is equipped with cross-feed valves. These valves are crucial for maintaining a balance in fuel distribution between the engines. Furthermore, the flight deck, where the pilots operate, features switches that control all these functions. A crucial concern arises when the main fuel valve of an aircraft is manually closed. If this happens, the engine does not receive enough fuel to maintain propulsion. Consequently, the engine relies on the limited fuel available in the suction pipes. Aviation experts explain that if the main fuel valve is closed, the fuel remaining in the suction pipes and auxiliary pumps is sufficient for the engine to function for only about 40 to 45 seconds. In the case of the Air India flight, after climbing to an altitude of 625 feet, both engines reportedly failed within approximately 30 seconds. This failure led to a complete loss of power supply, adding to the mystery of the incident, as certain elements do not align with standard expectations. Experts further clarify that when fuel supply to the engines is entirely cut off, an aircraft can sustain flight for a maximum of 40 to 45 seconds, reaching an altitude of no more than 700 feet. After this, the aircraft will inevitably descend and crash. A crucial point to note is that for long-haul flights like the one from Ahmedabad to London, certain mandatory pre-flight checks are essential. These include verifying the main fuel tank levels, inspecting the fuel supply lines, checking the fuel supply pressure systems, ensuring the proper functioning of crossfeed and supply valves, and finally, testing the pumps for functionality. These checks are performed by ground technicians who are part of the pre-departure technical clearance team called PDTC. Once the PDTC team completes their inspections, they notify the pilots. The standard operating procedure requires the pilot to double-check these components upon arrival. However, pilots do not have authorization to alter the status of the main fuel supply or supply lines during this verification process. The work completed by the PDTC team is considered final, and the pilot's role is limited to confirming the status of these checks. Interestingly, when analyzing this incident in Ahmedabad, some conspiracy theories initially suggested sabotage, such as the involvement of the CIA or the possibility of a planted bomb. However, given the high level of CCTV surveillance at airports today and the robust security measures enforced by the Central Industrial Security Force, planting explosives or tampering with a commercial air freight is highly unlikely. This makes the situation even more mysterious and warrants a closer examination of the technical and procedural aspects surrounding the incident. However, one possibility that investigators need to explore is the potential for sabotage. This incident does not appear to be a pre-planned accident or a routine failure. When analyzing the event closely, some have suggested that it might have been caused by a bird strike, a massive bird collision with the engine. Yet, common sense indicates that a bird strike, no matter how significant, cannot simultaneously cause both engines to fail due to a power supply issue. If something deliberate occurred in this case, it may involve manipulation of the aircraft's main fuel valve. Certain coincidences in this context raise questions. While they may seem unrelated at first glance, connecting them leaves room for speculation. For a long time, a Turkish firm called Shelebi was responsible for cargo handling services at several Indian airports, including Ahmedabad. After Turkey openly supported Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, the Indian government revoked Shelebi's security clearance and halted its operations as of May 15th. Notably, until that date, the company was still providing services at Ahmedabad airport. The coincidence of this firm's clearance being revoked on May 15th adds another layer of intrigue to the timeline of this incident. On May 20th, the Turkish firm Shelebi approached the Gujarat High Court seeking relief following the revocation of its security clearance. However, on June 5th, the Gujarat High Court ruled against granting relief to Shelebi, effectively barring the firm from resuming its operations. Coincidentally, on June 6th, the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security conducted surprise inspections of Turkish Airlines aircraft at 4 different Indian airports. During these inspections, explosives were discovered in the cargo sections of the aircraft. As a result, the Bureau issued a directive to Turkish Airlines mandating that no explosives be transported without a proper report. Further coincidences emerged in the days that followed. On June 8th, the Jamaat-e-Islami organization and its affiliate, Indian People in Solidarity with Palestine, launched a boycott campaign against the Tata Group. The campaign called for a complete ban on Tata products, alleging that the company supported Israel, provided equipment for its military operations in Gaza, and facilitated the killing of Palestinians. Then, on June 10th, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, a Khalistani separatist leader associated with the banned group Sikhs for Justice, issued a provocative statement. He called for an ambush on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his upcoming visit to Canada from June 15th to 17th to attend the G7 summit. Interestingly, Pannu had been issuing threats since October last year, explicitly warning Indian citizens not to travel on Air India flights. The timing of these events raises significant questions as they appear interconnected in a way that cannot be easily dismissed as mere coincidence. Then, just 2 days later, on 12th June, this tragic incident occurred. While the investigation may ultimately reveal the truth, one thing is certain: this was no bird strike. It is imperative that the investigation agencies scrutinize the CCTV footage and signature logs to identify who interacted with the fuel supply valve before the aircraft's departure. This investigation must consider all related facts, even those that may seem coincidental at first glance, but would hint at a larger pattern. As we await the findings, our thoughts are with the victims and their families. In this moment of grief, offering moral support is the least we can do. However, the sheer number of coincidences surrounding this case cannot be ignored. Jai Hind.